can't get to the agenda.
You could use share it with Scott.
I think I had it.
Pass it over here, Al.
I got
Share
it.
with Scott. You got it?
I don't. Got it now.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I'd like to start the meeting off with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. But first, let's do that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence for our brave men and women fighting all over the world for democracy and freedom. Thank you very much. Colleen?
Meeting tonight is for the conduct of town business by the town board. The public is invited to participate at the items marked on the agenda, public comment. During that segment of the meeting, if you have a question or comment for the supervisor, please raise your hand and wait to be acknowledged. Please state your full name and limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Thank you for your anticipated cooperation.
Thank you, Colleen. Need a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So move. Motion to approve minutes from the January 28, 2019 Town Board meeting. Need a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Authorized payment of bills.
See the abstract. I'll make that motion.
Okay, let me tell you how much it's going to be.
Yeah. You might not want to make that.
You may.
Make it anyway.
Okay. So the grand total is $1,472,442.99.
Well, in that case. Never mind. Yes, I do make that motion.
Basically, that was we paid off both fire companies, Marlborough and Milton, and a couple other things.
Just to pass through.
Yeah.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Pay the bills. Thank you. Comments on the agenda? Any comments on the agenda? Well, tonight we have a presentation. Sandra, on dance camera. Would you like to come up? Introduce yourself to the board? I bet you will. How are you? Good evening.
I see one person, but I'm representing thousands. No, I'm kidding. I am representing a group called Orange Rap, that's Residents Against Pilgrim Pipeline. We started out because that was an issue that we were very concerned with, and it seems as though the pipeline proposal is not an active one at this time. So when the dance camera issue came up, many of us were very concerned about that, and that's what I'm going to talk about for a little while this evening. For those of you who may not know, or for the record, my name is Sandra Kassam, and are you taking minutes?
Yeah.
Kissam, thank you. Okay. Two of our group members are here this evening, Ken Hall and Frank Muthig. Thank you for coming. And I have lived in the town of Newburgh since 1973, so I'm a long-standing resident, and I've been active in environmental events all of this time. A group I'm also with called Spark was instrumental in saving the Stewart State Forest, and so that's a little bit of a bio on myself, and thank you very much. Thank you. Can I see a show of hands? How many of you have actually visited the site of the dance camera and roasted plants?
I've been down there once.
Well, then, most of you, and you have not?
I worked there.
Oh, you've worked there. Well, then, you could raise your hand. You could raise both hands.
Long
raised
time
both hands.
ago, Jerry.
He doesn't like to raise his hand too much.
Right. Well, then you know where it is, and I'm not speaking to an uneducated group of people. So I'll get right into what it is that I want to share with you this evening. There are two main issues with the plant and with the proposal for a new plant or a relatively new plant. And those two issues are pollution and money. And I'll look at the pollution part for just a little bit now, if you'll give me a moment. Dan Scammer right now, and you may know this, so just bear with me, is only operating less than 5% of the time. It's what's called, as I understand it, a peaker plant, so that when there's a peak need for energy, the plant fires up, although it takes a while, almost 10 or 11 hours, it fires up, it burns gas with a backup in oil, but it's only operating about 5% of the time. The proposed plant, by contrast, will be operating 70 to 75% of the time. And so although the proposal is supposedly a better use of energy and is a more efficient plant, the fact is that the total amount of pollution will increase tremendously because it will go from being a rarely used facility to a facility which is being used constantly. And the company claims that they have a newer, less polluting system. It's called a two-stage system. I have it written here. Anyway, what happens is there are two steps to this. The first step, they're producing from burning the natural gas, the frack gas, they're producing the energy, and the second part of this, another turbine takes the energy, takes any emissions from that first process and utilizes those emissions to add to the electrical energy. So it involves two turbines. And just so that you know, our group, several members of our group, were able to obtain a site visit this past Friday, and this past Thursday, and we were out there, that's last Thursday, and got a very nice explanation for everything we saw. It was very gratifying. Now, the company is making the argument that their pollution and their emissions are not going to be at half as much as it would be if it were coal. But of course, we know the plant stopped using coal, or you may know, it was back in 2012, around the time that they had fiscal problems, were asking the town of Newburgh for reductions in their assessments, and then finally went into bankruptcy. And at the time that they went into bankruptcy, you're probably aware that that was when the coal was no longer being burned there. They stopped burning coal. And however, even though they stopped burning coal, the fact is that right now we have an enormous approximately 30-acre site filled with very toxic coal ash. And one of the questions here is, how is this current company going to handle that, and to what extent are they going to make themselves responsible for this? And even if they say they will be responsible, to what extent will they really see through on their intentions? Because our information right now is that the current owners have not signed a consent agreement with the DEC. They are monitoring test wells of leachate, which is coming out of the coal ash pile, but they have not signed an actual consent order, which has the force of law. And we did bring this up, and we didn't get very satisfactory answers. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Sandra, I got a question.
Sure, go right ahead.
That ash, no matter if they build the plant or not, they're still responsible to maintain that, right?
Well, we questioned them on this. We actually, the town of Newburgh had a work session, and we were able to submit questions. So we submitted a question about this. They said, yes, they're responsible, but it was a very general answer. And, you know, there was no follow-up questioning about, will you create a fund? How will you manage this? What would you do if you indeed yourselves went into bankruptcy or pulled out of this deal? None of that was addressed because the town board members didn't pursue the original question with follow-up questions. So your question is hanging out there, and I can't answer it as it now stands, which I don't feel uncomfortable telling you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Now, when natural gas is burning, it doesn't produce, of course, nearly the pollution that coal produces. Coal is actually much more toxic than anybody ever realized for years and years and years. It's like the asphalt, not the asphalt. What is that substance that is fireproof and so on? Asbestos. Yeah, we used asbestos for years and years and years. I remember I had it in the house to back up against the stove and so on. Never realized how dangerous it was. Well, however, unfortunately, now burning of natural gas, which includes the gas in your kitchen and methane everywhere, does produce serious pollutants. And keeping in mind that this plant is going to be running much of the time, if not all of the time, that is the new plant they're proposing. We are looking at emissions of carbon dioxide, methane, sulfur dioxides, nitrous oxides, probably a certain amount of carbon monoxide, and other emissions including particulate matter and volatile organic compounds. And depending on the location of the emissions and the size of the area being affected, the chemicals can cause headaches, vision problems, fatigue, shortness of breath, and worse. But there again, of course, if it's coming from the stack, it depends on where the wind is blowing and which direction and for how long. And it also depends on how cleanly they are operating. But in totality, the effects of these emissions will be greater than they could possibly be right now because, again, I may remind you, because of the very small amounts of time that this plant that currently is operating there is actually burning and producing energy.
So, Sandra, a question.
Yes.
So you said in the beginning, basically, it's a peak plant.
The current plant,
And it
the
takes-
old plant sitting
Right,
there.
It takes 11 to 12 hours to ramp up.
That's what we were told. We were told
Yeah, I was
on our
told.
site visit that it takes a considerable time, hours, to actually ramp up to.
And then when they ramp down, does it take equally the
Yes.
same
Am I
amount?
correct, Mr. Muthig? Do you recall that? And when we were in the conference room, they talked about the amount of time it takes to power up and to power down. Thank you.
So all that time, they're burning
Fuel.
crack fuel.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So it's basically, is it equivalent to being running all the time?
Well, it's not an improvement to the community, but
No,
it.
I'm asking a question. Is being peak the time to start it up?
Oh,
get
you
it
mean the
going?
current plant?
Yeah.
Does it make sense for them not to keep running continuously? Is that your question?
Yeah, and how many days out of the month or out of the year are they peak that they require them to start up the?
Well, it's not a question of a given amount of time. The issue at hand is this. If we are experiencing unusually hot or unusually cold weather and there is a greater demand for electrical energy.
So the peak energy.
So in other words, if there's peak demand, then the plant is supposed to step in and provide supplemental energy. Am I clear?
Yeah, and do we know, with the data that's been in the past, how many times that occurred?
No, I don't know that. I can't say that. But when the company, when Danskamer Energy LLC files their plan, then they will have to provide background studies of the various kinds. It's called an Article 10 proceeding, and it functions something like seeker, but it is different. And one of the big differences is that local communities don't factor into the decision. You can make comments and you can participate, but the ultimate decision comes from Albany.
Albany.
In fact, from a group called the Siting Committee. And the town of Newburgh and the county of Orange can nominate a couple of people to join this siting board. Siting board is what it's called, not the committee. But the majority of the members on the siting board are representatives from the agencies. I want to just give you a current update. As of Friday, that's this past Friday, we were out there on Thursday. As of Friday, I have learned that the company has filed something called a draft scope document. And if you are familiar with seeker, you know that scope means a table of contents for the study that they will do. Any questions on what I'm trying to say? And so this draft scope document is now triggering a period of time when the public will be able to comment on the scope. And it's very important to make sure that this document, the well, it's not an EIS, but the study that will result from this scoping document covers all the issues that we want to know about. I don't have the link to the Public Service Commission website with me at the moment, but I can provide that to you, the next couple of days. Get it and provide it to you so that you can look at the site. Anything that happens from the company, they meet with any group, they go to any presentation, anybody has any comments, it all goes on that site. It's supposed to be totally transparent. That's the whole point. And so it's a tool for you to at least keep up with what's going on in Albany in terms of who is getting involved. Now,
I assume you'll be commenting on that, right? On that
Pardon me?
I assume you'll be commenting on that scoping document. Is that right?
Absolutely. Our organization will comment, and there will probably be individual comments as well.
Okay.
And there are other groups involved. You may have read or be aware that the other groups include a group called Food and Water Watch, Scenic Hudson, the River Keeper, the Clearwater. There is a consensus among all these groups, including ours, that this project does not offer as many benefits as it does disadvantages. And having said that, I want to go to the financial side of this. This is a study that was done last spring, in 2018. And it talks about the financing behind the Denscamber Energy LLC, and the fact that it only was financed because they have reason to believe, the investors have reason to believe, which includes a company called Tiger Investing, and then there's another one. They have reason to believe that their profits will be guaranteed. And the reason they believe, now, mind you, we've been reminded, and we should all remember, Central Hudson delivers. These places produce the energy, so Central Hudson is charging us for delivery costs, but of course their delivery costs, it's so complicated. Their delivery costs are in many respects based on the costs that they have, the money that they have to spend to get the energy. And a number of projects are coming online now. There's a CPV plant out in Orange County, and then there's the Cricket Valley plant across the river in, I believe, in New York State, but, in Dutchess County.
Over.
And then there is also a plant in Kingston, it was called Glide Path, right, which incidentally just made a decision, you must have read, to go and depend on renewables and not gas. And we're very encouraged by that because we hope that that will be a trend.
Did all of the glide path energy come from renewables now? There's no fracked gas in that? on glide path?
Glide path hasn't been built yet. It's not
I
in
know it's not been
operation.
built, but is the agreement that it will be solar and wind power? Or-
What is your name?
Howard Baker.
How do you do, Mr. Baker?
Good.
I don't know the details.
Okay. I don't
think
either. I'm
the-
trying to
I
figure
don't
that
know the
out.
details. The headlines came out last week, and I haven't had a chance
Okay.
to read any of the detailed documents. And until you read it, you don't know what's really in there. But apparently, they are completely abandoning the use of gas
Yeah.
and
okay.
other fuels, combustion.
I've heard that, but then I didn't hear what the form of energy was that was going to replace the gas. That was the question we've had.
Well, renewables would be, as you
Wind
must
and
know,
solar, yeah.
wind, solar, geothermal.
Yep.
There is a range there.
Sure.
And if they can do that, it's very heartening. Maybe it can be done at Danskamer as well. And we have brought this up several times to the managers that we have been, meeting with.
Right.
I think that manufactures like 20,000
Megawatts.
megawatts.
You mean the glide path?
Yeah.
It's a much smaller thing.
Much
It is smaller, yes.
And I think it's batteries.
Well, may I respond to you on the batteries issue? The fact is that improvements in batteries are happening as we stand here, as we sit here. Battery technology, my understanding is that battery technology is moving rapidly forward. And we keep saying to, or have said several times, to Bill Reed, who runs the Reed Company that is representing the investors at Danskamer. We've said, and he gave us a timetable. We asked him while we were on the site visit, when do you think this would be built if you have any obstructions or objections? And he said, well, the approvals should take a year, so we're into 2020, and the building should take 2023 perhaps, because I asked him about this. And by 2023, they might be obsolete. And then we would still be locked into paying for their obsolete technology and paying for the use of fossil fuel, the gas, which also presents other problems because they have a gas line, several actually, going to the plant, and gas lines emit methane. It's just assumed and known that there's methane leakage. So you're going to get the methane leakage from the gas lines as well, and they also present serious risks because gas is explosive, and there have been incidents in many places where gas lines have exploded. And so there is that risk as well. Now, there are two gas lines there. One is coming across the Hudson from, I believe, from Chelsea, it's the Algonquin line. And then there's another gas line that comes from south of the plant.
Right.
I'm not sure where that originates. But those two gas lines combine, and then they go into the plant. Any questions on that? Good. Okay. So, to look back at the history of this situation, back in 2012, the owner declared bankruptcy. It went into bankruptcy court, and the judge apparently decided, I have this written here, that he was going to break up the company. And previously, Roaston and Danskamer had been one entity, and that they were going to break up the company. Roaston went to one buyer called CCI from New Jersey, who still owns and runs that plant. That's Roaston. And Danskamer was purchased by Mercuria. Mercuria is a Swiss-based company, and they're one of the largest in the world, and they deal with energy and related areas. And Mercuria took over Danskamer, and then Mercuria was running Danskamer and paying taxes into the town of Newburgh, which I researched, as early as 2015. But of course, at the same time, you folks here, I remember reading a lot about this, were suffering because you had lost a primary source of your education funding, and everybody was really stuck with the bill. So I can understand and see why there would be an enthusiasm for encouraging this new plant if you assumed that you were going to get the tax revenue that you would need and would like to essentially give a break to your residents. Because this ultimately, these expenses went straight down on the backs of ordinary people who live in Marlborough. And I think that's, frankly, I think that's terrible. But there is a concern here as to whether you would actually get what you're looking for. And the reason I raise that is because there is an auction process. That's why I mentioned these other plants. There is an auction process which is very complicated. But the net result is that different energy producers like Cricket Valley or Danskammer or CPV put a price on their product and they try to outbid each other. But when all has been said and done, the price that is paid to the distribution system, which is Central Hudson, is in fact the highest price. I see you nodding your head.
That's right. That's what I understand too, yeah.
It is the
It's amazing.
highest price.
Yeah.
So what they have done with this capacity, the capacity zone, have you heard of the capacity zone? Mm-hmm. Nobody would have thought of restarting Danskammer were it not for the capacity zone. The capacity zone was established by the feds. And what it is it's like, okay, they don't need the energy now, but they might need it soon, or they might need it in 5 years, so we'll put it in now, and everybody's going to pay in front. That's what it amounts to. It's like you get your electric bill. Oh, no, I get my Spectrum bill. They have charged you for the coming month as well as the previous month. So in this instance, it's not a question of months, but the point is that we, the public, are going to be expected to ensure that the investors in Danskammer LLC, Danskammer Energy LLC, make a profit. Now, that's disturbing enough to me as a citizen in the town of Newburgh. But what's even more disturbing is that our experience, and your experience in particular here in Marlborough, your experience has been that these companies use dirty tricks to get out of their responsibilities. And if you do a bankruptcy, that's the ultimate dirty trick, because then you only owe, what, pennies on the dollar? And all of your creditors are lining up to collect whatever they can. And people are hit the hardest because those funds are not being sent to the communities. So I have a concern, and you certainly don't have to share it, but I have a concern, and it's based on that old adage, that old saying, and it came to mind immediately to me. Get it right. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So I'm asking that you be extraordinarily careful before you support this venture. These people are professionals and they are part of corporate, but corporate doesn't have a great record when it comes to caring for the communities in which they locate their operations, because their operations are primarily intended to satisfy their shareholders and their investors, and we are just accessories to the fact. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I'm afraid I've gone over the 8 minutes, so you can charge me if you want. I mean, don't charge me, I mean.
No, thank you very much.
And you're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Do you want me to send you that link to
Yes, please.
their website?
Yes.
Okay, I will do.
Thank you, sir.
I really appreciate this opportunity.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go on with the reports. Supervisors report for February 2019. Met with surveyor Spencer Hall to review sidewalks on Du Bois Street. I believe last meeting we approved that to do the survey on Du Bois Street for sidewalks. I met with Gail Hepworth, to discuss agriculture developments. Councilman Corcoran and I met with Scott Woolsey from Mobile Life to discuss response times and future movement of emergency vehicles from Tombach Building to 1650 Route 9W. Met with members of Tombach Building Committee, chaired by Councilman Corcoran and Councilman Baker. Went to Albany for 2018 Mid-Hudson Regional Economic Development Council Awards. That was a while back. And that we received the $313,000 through the pier, the South Pier, down at the Leaning. Met with Highway Superintendent Gail Appler and Deputy Superintendent John Alonji at the Highway Department to discuss cell tower. Met with engineer Dennis Larios to discuss the town reservoir dam reclassification and the Marlborough Route 9W sewer extension, Phase 1. Attended the judicial hearing with the New York State DOT and representatives from CSX to appeal railroad crossing issue at Dock Road in Milton. I'd like to thank the board for attending that. I thought it went very well. We'll find out in, I guess, about 40 days. Attended the UC Transportation Council meeting, debriefing meeting with Councilman Baker, Rosemary Wine, and New York State DOS Representative Barbara Kendall to improve grants. Met with Mickey Jamal to discuss the Chestnut Petroleum Project. That's the Dunkin' Donut project, which is ongoing. Met with representatives from Dan Scammer Project, John DeMarco and Todd DiOrio to discuss that status of project. Also was Councilman Baker was there and Councilman Corcoran. Met with State Senator Skoufis to discuss local needs. Met with planner John Beam and other consultant members of the Milton Train Station Foundation, Highway Department, Supervisor Gail Appler and John Alonji, and Councilman Baker to discuss Milton Train Station Park. Thank you very much, and that'll be my report. Thomas.
Building Department report, month January 2019. Certificate of occupancy 3, request for information 16, trailer park renewals 1, fire inspections 12, fire calls 1, stop work orders 1, order to remedy 16, complaints 28, burn permits 25, building permits 20, 2 electrical, 4 furnaces, 2 demolitions, 3 stoves, 1 roof, 6 additions, 1 carport, 1 solar panel. Estimated cost of building $157,232.43. Monthly receipts, certificate of occupancy 450, request for information 1600, trailer park renewals 200, building permits $2,785.76, fire inspection fees 400, burn permits $45 for a total monthly receipt of $5,480.76. Total gas usage 125 gallons at 2,088 miles.
Tom, you want to discuss your request for the fee?
For solar?
Yeah.
Sure.
Do we have that in here? We don't have that in here, right?
I don't think so.
So mistakenly on the fee schedule, we do have a solar application fee, but on the fee schedule, there is nothing for the solar farm, which is currently in front of the planning board. So I did some research, other towns, what I ultimately put in front of you is what I got from the solar company, New York State, NYSERDA, which is a recommended, what they recommend to consider a permit fee. A lot of the other towns were doing based on cost of the project. But then if we're basing our permit fee based on cost, then we're basically asking them to be honest with us what the project's going to cost, because myself, you, doesn't know if the project's worth 1 million or $500,000, or who knows.
Right.
So with the NYSERDA recommendation that's in front of you, it's basing it on kilowatt hours. So the chart in front of you ranges from 0 kilowatt hours up to 2,000 kilowatt hours. And the progressive scale rises based on what the kilowatt hours might be. The project currently in front of the Town of Marlborough's Planning Board is a 2.6 megawatt on 17 acres. So the conversion from megawatt to kilowatt, you times it by 1,000, means we got a 2,600 kilowatt system being proposed to the Town of Marlborough. That'll produce 3.3 million kilowatts of energy. So based on the NYSERDA sliding scale, which ends at the 2,000 kilowatts, which we would exceed, I would propose that we continue the chart from 2,000 to 300 kilowatts to 7,000 on a building permit fee, 3,000 to 4,000 kilowatts at 9,000, and 4,000 plus at a 10,000 or 12,000, depending what you guys would feel comfortable. The NYSERDA fees basically jump 1,000 to 100 to 500 at 1,000. Once it goes 500 to 1,000, it jumps 2,000 to 3, 1,000 to 2,000, it jumps to 5. So we'll be consistent on what they're proposing. And if we use the other towns, which is estimating like $1 million solar panel company, that would be like a $10,000 fee at a couple neighboring towns using $1 million as a cost estimate. But again, we're depending on them telling us that $1 million is what it's really going to cost.
How much did you say the recent one, the solar farm that we're looking at, the planning board, was how many kilowatts?
2.6 megawatts, which converts to 2,600 kilowatts on 17 acres.
2,600?
2,600.
That would be 2,000.
So it'll be a $7,000 fee?
So it'd be like a $7,000 permit.
And how much do you think that's going to cost? Do they have given us a cost estimate for that, just for that?
They have not. They haven't put a cost estimate in front of us yet, in front of the planning board. But again, cost estimates are relevant to
What would and what is a percentage of the cost estimate usually other towns are doing?
other towns are doing. Solar farms would require $10 per $1,000 of construction costs. That's become the average. So if you go $10 per 1,000, you take $1 million project divided by 1,000. 1,000 times $10 is a $10,000.
10,000. So it's not. We don't know how much it costs. So that's.
No, but again,
It's easier to measure this way, right?
if we take what NYSERDA and they're saying, listen, this is what's fair. We're in that ballpark, so we're at that $7,000 range. Is it $1 million project? Maybe it is. And if $1 million project came in effect and we said we're gonna use the construction costs as a fee schedule, which I got away with over the last 5 years. I've kind of weeded most of our permits away from cost estimates, because what it costs you to build a deck doesn't cost me to build a deck, which doesn't cost him to build a deck. Right. And that slides. So for consistency, if a 16 by 16 deck and all 5 of you are building one and so am I, we're all going to pay the same price. So the consistency of getting away from cost estimate and just getting into what NYSERDA seems fair based on the kilowatt hours. The bigger the system based on kilowatt hours, the more money we'll charge you, just like all our other permits. The bigger house gets a bigger fee, the bigger deck gets a bigger fee.
I'm just trying to make sure we're not way out of whack, but we're probably not, because NYSERDA, you said, is recommending this.
Right, because again,
Do you know how big that $1 million project is in terms of kilowatt? Or did you
say that again?
How many megawatts is that $1 million project?
I use that as an example. Okay. I don't have a $1 million project in front of me, so I'm not really sure what that would be. And then the only other one other than that cost estimate, we would have another town using $6,500 for the first $1 million project and $1 per thousand after.
Who's
so
that, you know?
That one is, because again, there's not a lot around here. It's a county, Grundy County. Yeah, they're still so new that I can't just like go to Lloyd or there's not out there. So again, a lot of them are using that $1 million and saying $6,500 for the first million and then additional above and beyond. But again, if I give you a solar project and say it's $1 million, I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't know. Is our planning board engineer going to know that they're lying? And I don't know. Right. So
I think
it's good to go back to kilowatts. I mean,
yeah, the kilowatts is it, because the larger the system, the more we charge them, which is consistent with all our building permits.
And the pilot program is going to be consistent too what the AC output is.
Right.
It all, kind of all makes sense.
So Tom, this on the fee schedule here that I got up, this one here is for residential homes, the $200 up on the screen?
Yeah, that's residential. Well, actually, it's residential and commercial right now. So if a commercial entity wanted to put solar panels on the roof of their commercial entity, that number stays the
So
same.
this is, but I mean, it doesn't say specific.
It doesn't say solar farm. So a solar farm
So-
of this magnitude of 17 acres, I did it. You take 17 acres, times it times 43,500, your estimated square footage of an acre, which brings you to X amount number, times it 200 times 20 cents a square comes to about $85,000.
Now Howard's liking it.
So based on our fee schedule, if I had nothing to work with today, a 17-acre solar farm would basically cost them around $80,000 as a building permit fee under our current
So how would you want to word this on this fee schedule up here? Would you put
solar farm.
solar farm?
So there's solar.
fee?
But let me ask you this, what dictates the solar farm? It's like,
I was just
I
going to
have
ask
2
that
acres.
question. What's the solar
Let's
farm
just say I have
consist?
2 acres and I put up, I don't know how many panels. I put up 25 panels on my 2 acres. What's to say I'm not farming? If
Well-
it's not just for my house.
Well, you go to, it would be for 0 to 4, or you'd go to the kilowatt hour chart, I would assume.
But but I'm zone residential, so would I just be solar panels?
Right, because a solar farm would be required as a special use and have to go in front of the planning board. If you were to, say you wouldn't be a solar farm, if you had 2 acres and wanted to put, ground mount solar panels on your commercial entity, or even commercial or residential entity, you wouldn't have to get a special use permit and go in front of the planning board. The special use permit would kick you in front of the planning board to become a solar farm, meet the criteria of the solar farm criteria.
What I'm asking is, all right, let's say I had 9 acres, and I could put 8 acres of that up as solar panels. I technically am farming.
Well, if you're using it all for yourself, then it's not farming. The definition of farming would be use for sale.
Okay.
So if you're not selling it and you want to use 9 acres and you think you're going to use that much electricity in your house, God bless you.
Kids leave the lights on all the
There you go.
time. Is that an excuse?
Again, because the solar farm have to do with commercial sale of the electricity.
So if we put like solar panels on the top of this building to produce all the electric for this building, that's not considered a solar farm, right?
That's not,
Because
that's
your
correct.
own-
It's not a
that's your
farm
own-
because it's using for
It's
your
only
own.
if you sell it.
Your own use. If you're selling it,
Put
and
it on
that
the
becomes
grid.
farming, which becomes special use, which becomes planning board. Planning board's gonna tell me how big the system's gonna be. That system would kick back to the chart.
You have to have, how many acres do you have to have now for a solar farm?
I don't, there's a maximum. I don't think they put a minimum on a solar farm. So the maximum would be, I think, the 20-acre we put
20
on it.
acres is what we maxed out, right?
20 acres, and you can only use 10 of it.
Right.
So,
So there's no minimum. So like Alan said, if you had 6 acres
Yeah.
and you decided I'm gonna put solar panels on my 6 acres and I'm gonna sell it, you're gonna become a solar farm when you come in my office because now it's the sale of the electricity.
But is that's only if I.
What if they don't tell you?
admit to selling it. If I say to you, Tom, I'm gonna sell it, but if I just say, hey, Tom, I wanna put some solar panels up on my property, see, that's where a little bit of a gray area is, right or wrong. Because if I overproduce on my electric,
Yeah,
I
they're
do
not gonna
believe
tell
I could
you
sell
that,
it back
right?
to the grid for a credit.
Like he's saying.
Well, it's a credit, yeah. I don't think it's,
Net metering there.
8, 9 panels.
Yeah,
on my
but
yard.
what,
Feeding it back to the
when I
grid.
overcredit, what do I
You're
get?
really selling it.
Can I
How would you
call
know?
up
I don't know how you can sell it.
and say, I wanna get, cash me out? Cause I got 26 years of credit based on.
I don't know
how it
what
works.
this,
I'm just looking for like a little bit, I mean, I think this is great, this is awesome, but I think maybe we should, we have a restriction of 20, maybe we need
minimum
a minimum.
to change the solar
Your
code.
meter runs backwards.
I mean, we could add it to the solar code, because, I mean, basically, our ag is what, acre, 3/4 to 2 acre?
Yeah.
So maybe anything after 2 acre would have to be looked at as a possible solar farm.
Well, it'd be hard to, I mean,
I
I think you'd have to, I think you'd almost have to size the system, the system minimum would require the solar. Because again, if I have 2 acres, I'm an RAG1, I have 3 acres, and my house is on 3 acres. And I put an acre on, of solar panels, and it's theoretically an acre could probably feed my house with a little bit of credit, but not tremendously.
Yeah, you're not gonna get, I don't think company's gonna be interested in you selling 3 acres of solar power. It's for your own use. That's a really small system. So,
I understand that at this current point, but as the technology progresses, I mean.
That would be
solar-
that would be
solar
great,
technology
too.
10 years ago people weren't putting them on their roofs. Maybe
Yeah.
even 15 years ago, you saw a few, but you don't see them as they are today because
Ralph
they're
did.
much more efficient now.
Right.
So the technology's only getting better. I mean, we're actually, there's talk of it, or actually, as it came to fruition, there's solar panels built into shingles.
Right.
So, I mean,
Yes, that's.
the way the
Tesla.
technology is advancing, it's not
Certain parts of it.
far-fetched to say in 7 years, you can have a 2-acre solar farm that's producing maybe some of
That would,
these.
that would be wonderful if that happened, but,
It would be great, but if you
Yeah.
start popping
I
them up
think
all over
the-
the place, how wonderful is that?
Yeah, I'm just looking for, like I said, if a solar farm comes in and
we
goes in
need
front
a
of the
minimum.
planning board, that's the,
I'm looking at long-term,
yeah, but see,
long-term planning.
but what you're not looking at is that if you want to do that, then your building permit fee is going to be $30,000, and that's okay with me too.
I guess you're right.
I'm only looking at the building
so
permit
there
end of
is-
it.
yeah,
I
so
don't
there
care,
would
if
be a
I don't care if you residentially want to have a solar farm on your property and sell it, that's cool for you. I'm looking for the fee. Now, if you want to do that on 6 acres at your house, I'm gonna charge you $25,000. You can sell it all you want, because I just collected 25 grand for the town.
If it's on your, if you're not saying it's a farm, then you're gonna get charged the $200 plus the 10 cents per square
Plus the
foot.
10.
That's correct. I'm looking for the fee, I'm not looking for the definition
So
of a
that would
solar
hinder that,
farm
right,
or
Alan?
residential
That would hinder it.
occupancy.
I'm just
That-
looking
yeah,
for.
yeah, that's a
hindrance,
good
just
point.
any kind of
That's a
abuse.
good
Well, the
I don't want
hindrance
you
is
to-
gonna be, if you don't declare yourself a solar farm,
Right,
you're gonna
that's
pay
what I
me
mean, that's
20,
a-
30, $40,000 in fees.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah, so
That's a
again,
good point.
yeah, I'm not looking for the determination whether it's a solar farm or it's a residential use. I'm looking for a fee schedule, and there's nobody gonna wanna put a solar farm, even if it's on 3 acres, and wanna pay 210 cents a square. Because that would be, I don't know how to say, 100,000 times.
Just say it's a
Come
lot.
on, you should know this at the top of your head.
That would be, 3 acres would be $10,200
She's good at math.
for a 3-acre solar farm on your
So you're
property.
proposing this for residential and solar?
I'm proposing that to be under solar farms. If you're gonna be a solar
It's just
farm.
solar farm.
So you want us to make a motion to add solar farm under, on the fee schedule
That's correct,
based on the numbers that you submitted to the board?
yes.
Which are recommended by NYSERDA, right?
Yes, and then you could make a determination on that 4,000 to, you know, because you're not gonna get, on our maximum, put it this way, at 2,600 kilowatt on 17 acres, and our max is 20, you ain't gonna get beyond probably 3,000, 4,000. So we might never see that 4,000 plus, but if you wanna put 12,000 on that, 10 or 12,000, you can.
Well, like Alan said, you never know what could change.
Right, so I mean, so put 4,002 dash whatever at this point and put $12,000 if you want. Because again, you can't get beyond that 3,000 range on our current, under 20 acres. And if we change the solar plan, then we'll have to look, once. You
can always update it.
Right.
Technology goes.
3 years ago, you guys say, listen, our solar farms are getting bigger, I'm getting a lot of slack, I need to increase 20 to 25. Well, then we take a look at the fee schedule again. But at this
Why don't we make
point,
it 4,000 to 5,000 and make it 12,000? You're going up in 2,000.
yeah, so do that. So go 4 to 5,000 on 12,000 and jump it as the chart says. And then if at any point we get beyond 20 acres, then we have to look at the fee schedule again, because you're never gonna get to that number on a 20 acre max that we're asking for. Again, I should never say never, because if the solar panels increase in efficiency, the kilowatt hour might be increased. But I think we're safe at this point, getting us at about 5,000.
No, for a couple of years. That's good.
For quite some time, if we get to 5,000 kilowatt hours.
So
I
what's
think-
the board's desire?
I agree with it.
Let's add it to the,
I'll motion. I'll make a motion.
So we're gonna change that 10,000 to 12,000, or leave it 10,000?
12,000.
We're gonna change it to 12,000. 4,000 kilowatts to 5,000, or just 4,000 to whatever?
And can we just add like something at the end to say, for every additional 1,000, it's an additional 2,000? Something like that? If, say
I don't think we
it
need to do
ever
that.
goes above,
I don't think we need to do that right now.
just so it's there.
Because we can always alter this annually.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
All right.
Yeah.
So
That's
let's,
good for this year.
so I'll make, well, you guys, I guess it's I don't want to do it, you guys do.
I'll make the
The
motion.
motion's there, if anything else.
You know what the motion.
And I'll second it.
All in favor?
All right.
Now, as long as you don't-
Opposed?
you're not going to charge the town, right? These don't apply to the town. The town is an entity.
We're
Well,
exempt.
town's always exempt from this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you did a farm, you'd be exempt.
Okay.
So,
That or I trust you to tell me exactly how much it was, and I'll go back to
Cost us zero.
one for,
nobody opposed it, so, so moved.
11 PM readout.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Chief?
Activity summary for the month of January 2019. Just want to make a note that in January, a couple of the days of the first payroll are included in these numbers, so the way that it all fell. So it's actually 3 payrolls, just so you're aware. Anyway, motor vehicle accidents, personal injury 6, fatal 0, property damage 18, accidents not requiring report 6 for a total of 30 for the month. Vehicle and traffic summonses issued 61, 0 parking violations. Complaint activity, total blotter entries 321 with a total of 15 arrests. Telephone calls handled 1,801 calls. Police department overtime, full-time dispatchers 2, part-time dispatchers 80. Police mileage 10,339 miles with a fuel consumption of 1,054 gallons, 1,054.361 gallons.
Is it in here?
Could you read the dog report?
If you have it in writing, because I cannot read off that thing.
Can you see the screen?
Can't.
Huh?
You can't see the screen?
Come on, Jerry, look, I'll make it big.
Look how big it is. All right, we'll go in progression, then we'll just go back to. Any questions for Chief Kokoza? All right.
Highway super.
Highway.
Okay.
You want to read that, Alan, first?
Yeah, I got it up.
Thanks.
All right, so monthly report for January 2019, right? That's the one I'm reading?
Yep.
On 1/3, we repaired a washout on Mount Zion Road. We are flail mowing the sides of the roads throughout the township. We did Christmas tree pickup throughout the town. On 1/2, we had to cut chip down trees on New Road, Old Indian Trail, Green Tree, and Bingham Roads. On 119, we cut chipped a tree on Mount Zion Road, and also one on Willow Tree Road. Snow and ice. On 1/3, we had 3 trucks out at 5 a.m. due to light icing in the higher elevations. On 1/7, we had freezing rain, and we were in at 4 a.m. to salt all the roads, and it turned to rain later in the day. On 1/18, forecasted for a 1/4 inch overnight, and we got a little over 1 inch. Came in at 4 a.m., plowed off and salted. On 1/19, we had a storm that left 8 inches of snow plus ice, sleet, and rain. We had a hard time with the temps and the icing. On 1/21, we had a forecast for flash freezing due to low temps. We started salting at 4 a.m. with a temp of 1 degree and a wind chill of -20. The sun poked out around 9 a.m. and helped to soften up the road so we could scrape off the ice and snow. On 1/24, we had a light rain that froze overnight, and we had 3 trucks out at 4 a.m. to salt icy spots. On 1/29, we had a forecast for 3 to 6 inches of snow. It snowed all day, and we finished plowing at midnight. Came back in at 5 a.m. for the cleanup. On 1/30, we had a forecast for an Alberta Clipper coming in around 3 p.m. We held the men over, and it hit at 3:40 with limited visibility, high winds, drifting snow for 20 to 30 minutes. We plowed off and salted the 1.5 inches of snow we got and came in for a cleanup at 6 a.m. During the month, we had a lot of rain causing drainage problems all over town. We had 2 trucks out every morning salting frozen runoff to keep our roads safe for travel. Fuel usage, gas, 503.26 gallons, diesel, 2,248.400 gallons. Respectfully submitted, Gail Appler Sr.
Thank you.
Okay.
You want to read the water
Yeah, sure.
superintendent?
Charlie Maggio, Water Superintendent, monthly report for January. Water consumption total 14 million gallons, which is daily usage of 451,600, compared to last month, 14.2 million gallons, daily usage of 458,000. Compared to a year ago, water consumption was 16.3 million gallons for the month, which is a daily usage of 525,800 gallons. Water mains, repaired an 8-inch main and installed a valve in Milton with help from the Highway Department. Hydrants, removed snow away from the hydrants. Curb boxes, had to repair and replace a valve on Route 9W and also on Riverview Drive. Service lines, had to repair a service line Highland Avenue and Berry Road. Billing, we started our billing process. Bills will be mailed at the beginning of February. Now the town is making online bill paying available. If anyone has any questions, feel free to give us a call. Service inspections, closings 4, markouts 20, gallons of gas 310, gallons of diesel 0, mileage for the month 2,400.
Thank you, Councilman Marinelli.
You're welcome.
Colleen, how are you this evening? Good. Sorry about not following the sketch early in
Oh, that's fine.
the procedure.
No problem. Town Clerk Monthly Report for January 2019. Burn permits, 1 for $70. Conservation, 2 for $2.87. Dog licenses, 21 for a total of $125. Towing licenses, 5 for $1,250. Water services, 1 for $150. Transfer station permits, 23 for $1,215. Punch cards, 40 for $2,455. Building department fees, 1 for $2,676. Fire fees, 1 for $360. Zumba, 1 for $150. Accident reports, 22 for $110. Alarm permits, 1 for $20. Certified copies, 4 for $120. FOIA requests, 3 for $45. Park fees, 2 for $600. Train station, 1 for $300. Boot camp, 1 for $450. Jiu-jitsu, 1 for $150, for a grand total of $10,248.87.
Any questions for Colleen?
No. How's tax season going?
Tax season, I just actually paid the last of the almost $8 million I owed the town today.
That's good.
So now, and I paid the Department of Finance $1 million, so, yeah. So we collected almost $9 million so far. So we were very, very busy, needless to say.
Do you pay the county and then the county reimburses us?
Yeah, I pay the supervisor first, and once the supervisor's paid, then I start paying the county.
Okay.
And I have to the end of May.
Okay.
And then we pay, I collect to the end of May and we pay mid-June.
Okay.
And then the county makes us whole for whatever isn't paid to us.
So Marlborough gets its cut before it goes up to the
Yes,
county?
yes,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
pay us first,
Good.
yeah. So we're all done today.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Water quality management, Mr. Falco. Actually, it's Julian Falco. Report on the Marlborough wastewater treatment plant for January 2019. The average flow meter reading to the plant was 137 gallons per day. The design capacity is 175 gallons per day. We used 78% of the capacity. The process is meeting all other speedies requirements. Lab results show that we removed 95% of the BOD and 94% suspended solids during the month. The Milton wastewater treatment plant, the average flow to the Milton plant during January 2019 was 35,000 gallons per day. This is about 64% of design capacity, which is 55,000 gallons per day. We showed 99% of BOD and 96% of TSS removal. The process is working well, meeting speedy requirements. Overall, both wastewater treatment plants are in good working order, but getting older. The collection system is being monitored and maintained by Charlie Maggio in the water department. And if you need any additional information, please do not hesitate to contact me, and that's Julian Falco. Thank you, Julian. Actually, they had a problem at the sewer plant. I guess it's called the grinder motor and stuff like that. We had to replace all that. I think it was around $19,000.
That's the one thing he wants to replace totally. He needs a bigger one, right?
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
I think talking to Dennis would like to go down there like the board has, like Alan has suggested, so that we're not, we don't get punched in the face right away that we need $1 million to upgrade some stuff. So waiting for Tony to feel a little better. So then Dennis will come down and call you, and yeah, absolutely. Town of Marlborough door controller overview report for 1/1/2019 through 1/31/2019 overview. We received a total of 15 calls this month, including 7 calls to service the Marlborough PD. State Police and Ulster County Sheriff responded to 1 activity complaint and or cases which are now closed and resolved. We currently have 2 open cases that have been addressed but are ongoing or unresolved. We impounded 0 stray dogs this month. We adopted out one dog, which was picked up in December. We currently have no dogs in the kennel. We have had 0 dog bites reported this month. We had 0 dangerous dogs cases under investigation. We had 0 cases in the Marlborough Justice Court. At this time, we receive a high number of animal welfare calls due to animals left outside in frigid temperatures. That's not good, people. We urge residents to keep their pets indoors. And that's from Andrew McKay. Howard, Planning Board review.
Planning Board review for January 2019. The board reserves a moment of silence in order to recognize the passing of Ron Blass. Attendees were Mr. Brand, Ms. Lanzetta, Mr. Couchy, Mr. Clark, Mr. LaFaro, Mr. Trapani, and Mr. Troncali. Agenda: First Presbyterian Church, 98 West Street, Marlborough, lot line, both the seeker negative deck and notice of determination of non-significance and resolution of approval for the applicant's lot line. Revisions were approved unanimously. Second on the agenda, Buttermilk Spa expansion, 220 North Road, Milton, sketch and site plan. The applicant previously had approval for expansion of Building 7 on plans dated December 23, 2013. The current proposed footprint is larger than the previously approved spa. Clarification on the 2013 proposal, including additional parking and site lighting, were requested. Previous approvals conditioned the use of the spa facility to guests of the resort hotel. Clarification on present, on future use is required. The board recommend the applicant seek approval of the entire site in order to clear up past approvals and current usage for the entire parcel to ensure the entire site and its uses are in accordance with any and all local laws and allowable usages. Next scheduled meeting is Tuesday, January 22nd. And then the minutes from the January 22nd meeting are attendees: Mr. Brand, Mrs. Lanzetta, Mr. Couchy, Mr. LaFaro, Mr. Troncali. Agenda: Milton Turnpike Solar Farm, 132 Milton Turnpike. Public hearing, site plan. Public hearing was reopened. As requested, the applicant presented visual simulations of the project as seen from the historic Samuel Morse property located across the Hudson River. Jeffrey Enzavino, Director of Land Use Advocacy for Scenic Hudson, addressed the board and recommended the applicant relocate several of the proposed solar panels to a portion of the property in the south to avoid significant visual impact on the historic Locust Grove site in Dutchess County. Mr. Enzavino also recommended the board seek a glint and glare analysis should the relocation of panels not be feasible. Mr. Enzavino also questioned the possibility of increased stormwater runoff as the site as a result of the clearing of the nearly 14 acres of trees and was addressed by engineer Pat Hines. The applicant stated the process of securing a pilot agreement with the town of Marlborough had not yet begun. The board asked the applicant to prepare an alternate site plan layout at their next appearance. The public hearing was adjourned until February 19th, 2019. Next item is Smith Subdivision, First Street, Marlborough, preliminary subdivision. Applicant's proposal included many areas in need of clarification, including the water superintendent's sign-off on provisions to allow proposed lot number 5, which is substantially located within the water district, to be serviced by a well. Town engineer Pat Hines recommended any proposed public improvements be bonded by the applicant's representative in favor of the town. Stormwater discharge plans require authorization and a speedies permit. The proposed lot geometry would require a waiver from the board for length to width ratio. Pat Hines recommended a no further subdivision note be placed on future plans and the details thereof be reviewed by the planning board attorney. The applicant will appear at the February 19th, 2019 meeting. Next item is Dinah, 200 Mount Zion Road, Marlborough, sketch lot line, seeker neg deck, and notice of determination of non-significance were approved via resolution. Resolution of approval was also granted to consolidate tax maps 26 and 28 into one 3.94 acre parcel. Next item was Mike Garone, 17 Bally's Gap Road, discussion without attorney, engineer, and/or stenographer. The applicant requested clarification regarding adding a landscaping business to their Mountain Fresh tree farm. He was advised to complete a site plan application and appear before the board. Next item is Dockside, 9W, and Dock Road. Discussion without attorney, engineer, and stenographer. The applicant requested consideration to allow for a site plan approval for proposed grading in preparation to receive unspecified fill in order to facilitate a more rapid approval process when and if suitable fill is located. The applicant was advised to complete a site plan application and appear before the board. Next deadline, January 25th, 2019. Next scheduled meeting, February 4th, 2019. Respectfully submitted, Chris Brand, Chairman, Town of Marlborough Planning Board.
Thank you, Howard.
You're welcome.
get back to the agenda here. Okay. Report of committees. Recreation Committee? Scott?
Recreation Committee.
Actually going to meet, right?
So, one thing about the Recreation Committee that we got to discuss just a little, hopefully not too long, but since we passed the new rec fees and they're taking actual place on March 1st, and since we don't know how many people have keys, we have scheduled to change the keys, the locks on Tomback, all right? So, March 1st, there's going to be lock change. I guess what I'm trying to figure out from the board and get some guidance from the board is how do we manage opening and closing the building from now on? And do we continue to give a key? Do we have someone manage it? The fees that are set up now are to be paid in advance, not after the fact. So there's a lot of open-ended questions.
Well, the keys are the ones you cannot duplicate. You need one of those kind of keys, which is not to duplicate it.
Is it a punch thing that we can do?
No, I think eventually we can, but right now, the way the door is, the metal door, I don't think you really can do a punch key. I think if we do the renovations at Tomback, that's probably gonna be a consideration of what we do.
The problem with giving the keys to the people that are renting it out, then they can make copies and everybody
Well, exactly,
in the
that's,
class can have a key. So you're gonna get back to the same situation if you change all the locks.
that's the problem.
But then that's what he's saying, to have somebody open it up, but then who do you have it open up 3 times a week?
Who's gonna
Well,
go
that's
there
what I'm
at 9
saying.
o'clock at
We're
night?
back to that same scenario
That would be
here.
time shorter, right?
So I'm basically, what I'm doing is I'm
What do you-
asking
do you
guys,
have a
what do we do?
Do you have an idea in mind?
I really don't. I mean, I know that Penny and Tommy's office offered to do like scheduling and things like that and actually collecting the monies and having the schedule set up. I mean, obviously for a fee, like she wants to get paid to do this. So I mean, here we go again. Are we looking at hiring someone to do these types of things? I mean, I don't know what the board, we're doing things, but we don't have a real plan. I don't really have an idea of what.
The only other option to look at is if we went to like a key card process, which is gonna be expensive initially, but it would take out the human factor of somebody having to physically open and close a door or, manage keys. It would be simple enough to where somebody would, it's just like going to a hotel. You would go there, you would get your authorized, they would magnetize your card. That would be your card. If you were to say break the rules in any way, such form as non-payment or just not showing up or leaving a place a mess, you can actually just delete that key and the door wouldn't open. But it's gonna be expensive. That's gonna be an expense, but will it,
Pay for it.
how much of an expense are we gonna have to actually pay someone to physically go there and open and close the door?
I think
Who
long
wants to
run,
open
I
and
think-
close the door
yeah.
at all different hours of the week?
We have no idea how much
I think long run, I think that's definitely the way to go.
For the new building.
But currently, I don't know how you could do it with the current doors.
Right.
It's gonna be expensive.
I mean,
It's
you have to.
it's a
you'd have-
retrofit.
You'd have to replace the whole door set,
You'd have to wait till you actually.
because they're on that kind of like.
So on the
simple
tumbler,
lock.
no, I think you don't have to replace doors. I think it can be done. It's an attachment to the door, and it would actually work like, it would mechanize the tumbler. I've been in a situation where it's been looked at. It is pricey, but you have to outweigh, I mean, how much is it gonna cost if we have this door, if we have somebody open and close the door 3 times a week, 52 weeks
I
a
kind of
year?
agree with you on
So-
your recommendation, but I don't know what the cost was and I don't know if you actually have to replace the
Can we
door.
can we make
Can we
have a
look at-
locksmith to take a look at it and see what he thinks?
I think we could
Before the
approach
next
it.
meeting?
We definitely got to we could approach it if it can be done on those doors. I mean, the thing about doing it this way, if instead of just giving out keys,
Right.
that happens, then sometimes we don't get paid.
Right.
What I'm getting at.
Right, now that,
They
they
just
just
go and
make
work.
copies too.
Now, you can't get in unless you pay us, right? That's the idea here, is we want to make sure that they understand it's got to be paid first, then you have access. If you're paying for a week, you got to come in and pay your $100. If you're
No.
paying for a month, you got to come and pay your $400. But that way you have access, and then you would have, like Alan said, a code of some kind that could be put in for that time frame.
Can we look into a key thing into the, I think.
A card like Alan's?
Just lock one door, change the lock, make sure that one door, and just have one door that opens and,
I don't know if you can do that with the fire thing.
huh?
You can only have one entrance and one exit.
Well, we could make push outs. I mean, I think
Yeah,
those
yeah,
doors will push.
pack.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they'll
push
push
out.
open, I think, if they're locked from the
And
outside.
just have one
Yeah.
door.
And
Just lock behind
entrance,
it.
Well, I
yeah.
guess, you're saying to try to convert the doors that we have there to those types of doors?
No, I think the doors you have there are the commercial push handles, right?
No,
They're just glass.
But
They're just
With
big-
doorknobs?
They're just basically glass windows with a
No,
metal
it
lock in the
has-
center.
It has the push things.
I thought it had
from
the
the
push
inside.
bars.
But they're just big glass windows with the metal lock in the center, that, like the lever goes up and
Yeah.
it goes into the thing.
Yeah.
So it's not like these where it has the channel in the center.
No, no, no.
It has-
Yeah, I understand that, but it still has from the inside, if
can
you're
only
going from
do
the
exit
inside out, you hit the
Crash
center
out,
push
or
bar.
whatever.
They don't.
No.
It's just, I think there's just a bar there, and you, like a metal bar. I don't even know, like, or is it just a door?
I don't think so.
They're not?
It's an old-fashioned, just straight
I know
door.
it's old fashioned.
there's no movable mechanism in those units. They're deadbolts.
They're
Deadbolt
deadbolts.
closed, deadbolt open.
I mean, unless the board is saying, let's replace the whole doors.
No,
Just
we don't
one.
No, I don't
You want
want
a
to
temporary
replace the door
solution?
before.
Yeah, we
Maybe
don't
a
do-
temporary one that's somewhat okay. You put a lock box next to the door with the chain in it, that's chained to the key, that's long enough to get to the door, and you give that code out weekly. Can somebody cut the chain and steal the key? They can, but you'll know who it is. But you have the lock box that has a
Someone
metal-
can knock
has
the
chain-
lockbox right off the wall.
That has the chain to the key. You give them the code, 1, 2, 3. They open the box, they take the key
Yeah.
out, they open it, they put it back in, they lock it. That code's good for the week. You only gotta go down once a week to change the code, 3 or 4 digit code on the lockbox. The key is on a chain or a wire that stays in the box. They can't walk away with it, they can't go copy it. It's stuck in the box. The only thing they can do is steal it, but you'll know who did it.
Yeah, we changed the lock at that
There's
point.
gotta be a way that we
That's your
can
temporary
retrofit
fix
that
right now,
door.
until you just decide to go to key codes or anything else.
Jerry, are you shaking your head no?
No, he's asking me if there was a camera there. I said no.
Oh, okay.
Another option, very similar to lock boxes, put a hasp on the door and get a programmable lock.
A what?
Excuse me?
Put a hasp on the door and put a programmable lock on it,
Okay.
where you can change that combo.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Much like the lock we have in our back door.
Yeah, but remember, it's all deadbolt. It has no mechanicals in it. Those
I
doors.
understand, but if you put a hasp on the outside of the door and put a lock through it, you can't open it.
Oh, that way.
Yeah, I mean,
You mean like a regular
Oh,
Yale
you
lock?
mean that thing will be
Yeah, lock,
broken right
yes.
off.
Okay.
just like we did on that door.
Yes.
There's gotta be a way to retrofit that door, I would think somehow, maybe, right?
You would need a programmable lock.
Depends what kind of locksmith.
Put in the center, see that center bar that's in between the doors? Can you put that in and attach those, just those bars to the door somehow?
It's a wheel, yeah. Yep,
Sounds like we need to ask a locksmith.
and the lock, the door you wouldn't use.
I think
Either one of those ideas are good ideas.
I think if we get a locksmith and have him look at the door, tell him what we want, and see what he says the least expensive.
Exactly, yeah. That's a good idea.
I mean, I guess that's what we gotta do, is we gotta have somebody come professionally look at it, say, what's our options?
Yeah, I can't see nobody going down there in the middle of the night, open it up, and then in the middle
Oh,
of the
I
night, if
agree.
there's snow or something,
I've been-
close it.
I think we've all said that for a while now, I think that's the best option, it's just how do we do it with the current door set, that's the problem.
I think once you have this rec meeting with the 3 people that are actually using it, I don't know if it's gonna end up to be just one.
Exactly.
There you go.
So, I mean, the problem is, we're having a rec meeting next week, I believe it is, next week? I remember. But this goes into effect March 1st, which is 2 weeks, not even, because it's 28 days in this month. So, we kinda gotta figure this out as quickly
Well, I
as
think
possible.
that's why I said if we get a locksmith up there before our next meeting.
I mean, Tom Schroeder did say he would do it
Temporarily.
temporarily.
Right.
So if we had to do this for,
If he remembers.
He
but
emphasized
you gotta
that, yeah.
remember.
Yeah, but the other thing is, I think if we get a
Yes.
locksmith in there before our next meeting, we'll have a look at what we can do, and we can vote on something.
Once we
Yeah,
get
we'll make some
somebody
calls.
tomorrow, and we get
Not
somebody
tomorrow, but maybe.
Tuesday, next anyway.
But okay, we already got a locksmith scheduled to come there. I don't know if does that guy, can he come and give us some options? Does he do that, or is he just a deadbolt?
No, you can do anything you want.
Yeah.
March 1st, he's coming to change the tumblers and give us new keys.
I mean, a locksmith's one thing, but you're almost talking like an electrician or someone that specializes in this type of stuff.
No,
right?
they
Start-
locksmiths
Does a
nowadays, they do
locksmith
all
do
that
that?
stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
What did you want to do consider a keypad like we have here at the station.
We wanted to just see what's
Yeah, I'm
expensive
talking
each
about
way.
something like you had, like,
Yeah, you can't do that with that type of door.
yeah.
You need an electric strike, and you
Yeah,
can't do that in that type of door.
Well, that's what I'm saying, the door is what's hindering us here.
But if the locksmith comes in, he just gives us
No, I
how much
understand.
each one's gonna name, we can vote on what we want.
I mean, another option is you could use the old door with the buttons on it.
You should really talk.
You know, where the police ambulance is?
You should really talk to an electrician.
That has the,
Or the locksmith, because.
but that's a regular
there is-
door.
There is another way to do that with doors, and it's by magnets. So that door is held closed with a very strong magnet. Sheriff's Department has it that way.
Probably
And when you put in the code, it releases the magnet, the door unlocks.
Yeah, it's
And what happens when the electric goes off?
I don't know.
The door is just open. Come on in.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't know. I would assume the Sheriff's Department has a generator.
Yeah, there's probably a generator, but we don't have one.
I think
Everybody
probably
has
right.
a sheriff's department.
we could be here a while discussing, but I think Councilman Molinelli has a good idea of getting somebody and just telling us what we can do. I agree, it would be too much for one individual to go down, and I agree with Councilman Corcoran about, we might end up with one person, but it doesn't matter, we should control the building.
Are we still gonna now, the other thing I was gonna ask you, is all that stuff in that front room that's been sold and stuff, is that gonna be cleared out of there? I mean, is that gonna,
We're working on it.
okay.
How about the stuff in the mechanical room? Has that stuff been moved?
We're working on it.
It's
So
a
but-
fire hazard now. It should be worked on.
So,
I think a lot of that stuff is
I mean, the thing is,
cheap stuff, too.
we also gotta look, I mean, this is a whole big thing, we're
Yeah.
opening it up here, but.
Yeah, I don't think we need
I mean, but just think about it too, is like, how do we then limit the time to the room? So right now, our limit is, you're getting it for 2 hours for that fee.
Right.
If we just give them access to the building, I don't know how long they're in there, if no one's going to check them and open and close the building. So that's the thing about having a person that works for us. Maybe it's a 4-hour-a-day job eventually when we get to
When you
to
get
do
to the
something,
point where you find out who's gonna
but the
do
problem
it.
is that we don't have no way to determine how long someone's there. If someone has a party, how do I, someone's got to go there and make sure the place is done
Well,
right.
March 1st, we'll know exactly who's gonna be using it and who's not gonna be using it, and we'll have a schedule.
Yeah, I mean, right now, it's kind of
Well,
simplistic.
I don't know if you will,
But-
because you still haven't determined who's doing the scheduling and collecting the money.
Right, but the thing is they gotta collect, they gotta
We
be
need
in
to
with,
determine between now and March 1st, who is she calling, who is she scheduling with, and who is she paying? And I just thought Zuma when I say she.
right, but they're also not going in there until they pay.
So you have to assign somebody that role.
I mean, I think the clerk's office has been doing it.
No,
Which clerk?
no,
Not them.
no,
No?
we're not doing it. We're too busy, especially now, it's tax time. I told Scott
school's
that we don't have the manpower to schedule stuff. You know, we do what we do now, but we can't open it up to a rec department as
Well, yeah.
well.
Let's
Here's
find
what
out what we're
here's what
gonna
I
do
say.
with the lock.
Let's get the cost of the locks, and by next meeting, put on the agenda as part of the topic to straighten out how we're gonna schedule everything.
I think you're too late.
Well, they have another meeting.
Next meeting's the
before
25th.
So our rec
This is the first one of this
meeting
month.
is-
We'll come with a proposal.
The rec meeting is on Wednesday, the 20th. at
They'll have that
6
before then.
At 6 o'clock here. So, if anybody wants to come,
Rec committee.
the 20th of
I
Wednesday.
think I'll be out of town that day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Keep all these things in mind because it's coming up quick and we're gonna have
Okay.
issues. But,
Yep, I understand.
all right, sorry.
No, that's
So who's gonna contact the
Tom,
locksmith?
you have the locksmith's gonna change the locks, can you get him in?
I'll get him in earlier. He's already scheduled on the 1st.
So
I'll get
if
him in
you
early.
could contact him and have him look at that with,
So if he does, he'd give us the idea we want, he could do both at the same time while he's here.
Yeah, I mean, I really think with no center post, you're gonna be very limited, because
Right,
this
but
is a dead-end situation.
he should know the best way we can go.
on those doors, I mean, I know we don't wanna get on, but can you add a center post? Add those push things?
No, those doors are shot, period.
They're not gonna be there when you fix it.
Maybe the best way is
Well, maybe we gotta
It could
find out
close
what's the
away.
cost of a set
I
of
think
doors.
that's why you get a professional and get it done.
Or
I
maybe,
mean, we're gonna have to replace them.
so Scott, not to belabor this, but you made a good point about the key thing. Why can't can we use that for them to enter?
I mean, a lockbox?
Yeah, the thing that's there now, and change that.
Oh, the side door.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
What's reason, and keep the other two locked?
You're just gonna have to keep changing that code.
they have to be unlocked
It goes to the, yeah, Tom.
for
that's,
safety, but to
highway
get in
side,
the
where you
building,
go
they
into the
could get
garage.
in the building, but they'd have to get in, then
Unlock
unlock those
it.
doors from the inside, if you leave the key there. But then again, then they got the key, and how do I know they take
Okay.
the key and make a duplicate? And
Moving forward.
We'll figure it out.
it's like, it's a snowball.
Alan, Emergency Management Preparedness Committee.
All good.
The CAC is still working on the design guide rules. IT Committee, Scott and Howard, you want to talk about the meeting we had? Or not?
Bring that up. Well, we just had an IT meeting this week, right, Howard? About future things we need for the town this year. We do it once a year. We had Spectrum charter there, our representation. A lot of the meeting was dealing with them and seeing what new services. We were trying to see if we could get a new cell service through them, but they don't do that through business. So as of right now, we can't do that. Our service as it is I guess suitable, but there is a suggestion to go to 200, right? He did send us those numbers. And then port 50 up to the highway department instead of what we port now is 20, right? But Danny did go there and did find a problem with the laptop setup, so I guess that problem has been fixed.
That was mainly,
For their laptops.
Yeah, for Gary.
For Gary.
yeah.
On top of that, we did get the new printer copier in for the assessor's office today. It was set up today. So that's in upstairs. He put it on all the computers, I believe, except for Kathy's, because for some reason nobody knows Kathy's logon. So it's easy to get on later. So that's installed. What else, Howard? Anything else in that meeting?
No, that's pretty good. Pretty good summary.
Couple arguments.
Not too bad.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
No, it was a good meeting, very good meeting.
Well, we talked about some upgrades for the police department, and going to new software, and looking for a new server starting next year, and possibly doing a hybrid cloud server system, right? So
Yeah, he's
that's
gonna
going
look
to be
into
built into probably next year's budget. So we'll talk about that in 6 months.
That's good.
That's it.
Thank you. Milton Train Station Foundation, they met, but they didn't have a quorum. They're actually looking at the design right now from the engineer to do pavers in front of the Milton Train Station Foundation. So they're looking at that. Milton Land and Citizens Committee, Al?
No, the dock's holding up to the ice flow pretty good, so everything looks good. I mean, we all know what happened with the trial, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, the trial.
The trial, the hearing. Everything looks good there. I guess we'll hear back. It should be another 20 days, right? It's been,
Yes, was it 2 weeks ago? She
yeah,
said
it was about that.
40 to 50 days, something like that.
60 days, yeah.
60 days?
So it should be
So,
before March 24th.
I think it went great. Seemed like open lines of communication. It wasn't as confrontational as I thought, so we'll see where it goes. I mean, I got
Yeah.
my fingers crossed.
So Alan, I have a question for you.
What's that?
Should this be the Friends of Milton Landing now? Are you guys are 501c3, right?
Yeah, we are a 501c3.
Should it be?
Are
Do
you
we have
officially called Friends of Milton Landing?
Do we have to be friends? I mean,
I don't know
No,
if we could
you're
be
fine with this.
friends
If
or-
you're fine with it, I'm fine.
yeah, fine with the Milton Landing. I mean, Howard, we're friends. It's not that
It's
way.
been called
that-
that. Milton Land and Citizens, I mean, that's fine.
Okay. It's the same organization, though?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Very fine.
Yeah, we have officers now and everything like that, so we're all legit as far as what we needed to be for a 501c3.
Yeah, which is great. So the money will start pouring in.
Yeah, It will, I mean, it just gives us a different outreach now, so we'll be good.
So, Marlborough Hamlet Economic Development Committee, we haven't met in a while.
I don't know we haven't, and I know they wanted to reschedule, we had to, so I don't know what's going on there.
Okay. I don't know what's going on with Meet Me in Marlborough, do you?
Meet Me in Marlborough, I spoke to Sheila today about a couple of things. One thing we did talk about was giving us a monthly report, and so I volunteered, said if you send me something in a timely fashion, I will make that report to the town board every first meeting of the month. So she said she would try to do that, so
Okay.
that's about all I can say on that. They do a lot of stuff, so
They
we should
do.
know what's going on, and it's just a matter of somebody writing it down so we can report it here.
How about the Hamlet of Milton Association Committee?
As far as I know, they were supposed to take down the Christmas decorations this weekend. I didn't get a chance, I was away for this weekend, so I didn't get a chance really to take a look at if they did it or not. But they're gearing up for the spring, there's already
Yeah.
talk about what they're doing, and, it should kick off pretty soon, and I'll give the dates of the planting party and stuff like that. We always have the cleanup the week before, so.
Yeah. Don't you have a fundraiser too prior?
I don't want to speak for Stephanie
Okay,
and them,
okay.
but I'm sure they're going to do something.
Okay.
Yeah, they're going to do like usually they'll do that the week before, or usually the Friday before the cleanup, the
Okay.
Sunday cleanup, and then the Sunday cleanups, that's usually just before the planting.
Okay.
So I'm sure we'll hear something very shortly,
Okay.
and I'll report.
And transfer station, Howard?
The only thing I can report there is I asked Larry to get an estimate for removal of all the tires, which I thought he'd jump on right away, but I haven't heard back from him yet, so I'll have to remind him about that.
Hopefully, maybe we'll have that next meeting.
Definitely.
Okay. Howard and Scott, you want to talk about plans for Tomvac?
We just did an hour and a half.
You just had a very good meeting, and
Well, you want to let the Councilman Malinelli and Councilman Koenig.
What do you want to say? So I think
go ahead.
the committee is pretty set on a plan right now. So that's what just came out of that meeting. We have a pretty good idea of how we think we want to present to the town board a design plan for the building. The next phase is for the committee is we're trying to get estimates for the board prior to giving you a final report on what the committee says. So we're trying to get some, you're going to see tonight, we're asking for some monies to do the asbestos testing. And there's more than just asbestos testing, it's molding and the
Vermiculite.
vermiculite testing. These are pre-construction tests that need to be done regardless. So we're going to be asking for that tonight. I got Mike Cook looking into plumbing and heating and air conditioning, getting us an estimate on that. We have people looking into electrical. And then we have Phil Bell, which will eventually give us an overall plan. And Bill Woodward has been working very well with the committee. He's been giving us documents and plans. And so it's been coming along well. We're all under the understanding this is going to be probably an expensive endeavor. And I know Al's been reaching out to our representation in Albany and seeing if we could get some extra money. So that's pretty much where we're at, right?
Yep. So do you want to bring that Quest quote up? So make a motion to do that. You have that up there?
For a resolution, was it up?
It was not a resolution, it was
Do we
looking,
have it?
we were going
Oh, yeah, I
to just
have
do
it.
a motion.
I think I had it here though, right?
You just had it up before.
Yeah, this is the Quest. So you guys, I sent it to you guys.
Yep.
There's 2 phases to this report, and we're asking to do phase 1, and that's this right here: pre-construction environmental testing services, the pre-demolition asbestos survey. So these are all the tests that they would be doing pre-demo, pre-work. And we get to the amount, it's gonna be
26 something.
$2,600 it should be where I get to it here. And did I pass it?
No, it's 2,600, I think.
No,
Got
here,
it right there.
$2,614. So this is the pre-construction environmental testing that needs to be done. Again, Quest did this for us prior. So basically, we're actually getting, believe it or not, even though it's $2,600, we're actually getting a better deal because they could use prior things that they did in 2012. But 2012, a lot of things have changed since 2012, so that's why we got to do new reporting. And then from the committee, we did ask for some of the extra stuff, like the mold reports and things like that. So we want to make sure that the building is 100% ready to go before we touch it. So I'm going to make a motion to the board.
Scott, just one question.
Go ahead, Alan.
Sorry to interrupt.
Nope.
But we have the 2614, that's just gonna be like, hey, we're gonna look for it.
Yep.
And the phase 2 is if they find it, it would be the 25 plus the 1515, so it'd be another,
So, correct.
5,500 for the plans to actually remove this stuff.
Well, phase 2 would only come in, well, first off, phase 2 only, you hit it right on the head. These things would only happen if they find certain things first, right? And then secondly, they only happen if we do construction, right? Yeah, so absolutely. So we were assuming, we already know from 2012 there is things that have asbestos in it there. What's the extent of how much we will be removing would determine what we do as a board moving ahead. What we don't know is the lead and the mold and things like that. So yeah, this extra $5,500 could come into play
If.
moving forward.
The asbestos, if I understood it right, from what they were telling us, is that they found since the 2012 analysis was done that now vermiculite also, when it's in the mining process, may have asbestos mixed in with it, so therefore they have to go back and maybe check the same places they checked before to make sure there's no, or check in areas that they didn't check that for vermiculite that may have asbestos in it.
Yep.
So it's not the vermiculite itself, it's the fact that it can have asbestos associated with it. Like they used to use vermiculite in insulation in concrete block buildings. They would pour it in the openings.
Yeah, that's something they didn't do in the
So
last
they didn't do
test.
that because it wasn't known problem, so
Because it could be inside the cement, they said.
it could be in the sun, yeah.
I've seen it
Do you
used
know
as
what,
regular home insulation.
Do you know if they
Exactly.
filled the voids in the cinder block with vermiculite?
Yeah, it's
So we'll
just-
check it. Okay, got a motion to spend $2,614 on the Quest proposal.
I'll second it.
Have a second, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? So moved. Design standards for Route 9W corridor overlay district, like I said, we're working on those, close. LWRP, we're still waiting for the contract to be finished. I don't know what's going on with that. Plus, there's a payment that the DOS owes us, so they're looking at that too. They said there was a couple of errors, so they fixed those. So hopefully we get those. The water district improvement, Milton Turnpike and Crossroad. I guess Charlie got a break now. There's a water break. I guess it's on Old Indian.
Yeah, it looks like they're in good shape though, because I just got a text that water's flowing.
Okay.
First he
Sounds
said
good.
it was Milton Turnpike, Alan. I thought you were gonna go crazy.
No, I keep asking them that.
I was like, oh.
But, no, I just got through our fire service messenger, water's back on, so they're in good shape.
And so we found out a little bit more about the metal building and transfer station, trying to work with the PBA, and so that's still up in the air, but the town board did propose spending $10,000 on that building, so I think when the weather improves and stuff, that we should really look at that, regardless of what the PBA wants to do, and do something with that building.
Yeah, I mean, right now, the PBA is coming back where, I don't think it's everybody, but there's members in the PBA who now are saying they don't think they should be responsible to contribute any money to do anything. So, I mean, my response back was basically, you're the one who came to us. So, you're the one who came to us and said you were willing to spend X amount of dollars to do something. Can we do it up there? And now that we said, okay, we'll spend up to $10,000 after the fact, now they said, well, now we don't want to spend nothing. So it's kind of a little, I don't know how to explain it, but it's kind of an oxymoron here thing. You tell me you want something, and then after we approve something, then they say, well, maybe not. So, but again, that was certain people saying they wanted something, and then it is a membership, right? So the PBA members, they decide. So we pushed it back on them right now. So
Yep.
we'll see what comes back. But yeah, I agree with you, Al.
Yeah, regardless, I think we
we
should
gotta
do
look at it
something
again.
with that. Yeah.
Hey, Al, before you jump to new business, just want to mention that we are still pursuing that Cultural Resources Survey grant. So we sent out the request for bids today. That will allow us to find out how much something like that will cost so that we can then put that in the grant application. Mhm. Thanks
So we put it on the letterhead and we send it to the people that you suggested.
Right, six or seven different.
Yeah, we did that today. Tina did that.
So thanks to Matt Kierstead for doing most of that work so far.
Any new business? Correspondence. I think I just have Marlborough United Soccer Club. I think we checked with the dates and they're good.
Yeah, I have
So they wanted 5/11, 5/18, 6/1, 6/8, 6/15, and 6/22.
And Sundays. Yep. I have them in the book.
There's usually no fees associated with them
No,
using the
they say
fields,
there's
right?
Their insurance and,
Okay. Just to let the board know that Rick Cornfield, you know Rick? I guess he's the new guy?
he's been there since last year.
No, I don't know.
Last
So
year.
that's the only correspondence I have. Public
So you want
comments.
to make a motion to approve it for him?
Yeah, we'll
I
approve those
guess.
dates. I'll make a motion to approve those dates for the Marlborough United Soccer.
Okay. I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved. Thank you, Ed. Public comments. We're good.
Okay.
Let's go to resolutions.
Wow.
That's good. First.
Resolution 29 to transfer funds. Supervisor Lanzetta proposes the following: be resolved that $50,000 be transferred from the general fund balance account A.0917.000 to the building reserve account A.0878.002 for the use of repairs to the highway salt shed roof and the building repairs needed at the transfer station, and moves for its adoption.
Councilman Corcoran,
Yes.
Councilman Malinelli,
Yes.
Councilman Koenig,
Yes.
Councilman Baker,
Yes.
Supervisor Lanzetta,
Yes. Resolution 30 is to authorize the highway superintendent to sign an agreement. And this basically is an agreement with the Ulster County. It's to use their equipment, and it's a municipal agreement between the county and our town, Gale Appler, and moves for its adoption.
Councilman Corcoran,
Yes.
Councilman Malinelli,
Yes.
Councilman Koenig,
Yes.
Councilman Baker,
Yes.
Supervisor Lanzetta,
Yes. Resolution 31, to appoint a part-time dispatcher. Supervisor Lanzetta proposes the following. Whereas the police committee has interviewed for the position of part-time police dispatcher, and whereas it is recommended of the police committee to, as well as the chief of police, to appoint Nicholas Seymour as part-time police dispatcher, and therefore be resolved that Nicholas Seymour be appointed immediately. I hear it. Is he of age? Is it about 18? 22? Okay. And moves for its adoption.
Councilman Corcoran,
Yes.
Councilman Malinelli,
Yes.
Councilman Koenig,
Yes.
Councilman Baker,
Yes.
Supervisor Lanzetta,
Yes. Resolution 32, to award contract for the removal, disposal, and re-shingling of the roof of the town highway salt barn. Supervisor Lanzetta proposes the following. Whereas the town has procured 5 bids for the project to remove, disposal, and reshingle the roof on the town highway salt barn on Route 9W in Milton. And whereas the following bid amounts were, and you could see what they are, and it looks like United Exteriors was the lowest bidder. Be resolved that the town board accept the bid of United Exteriors and directs the supervisor to draw up and execute the contracts for said project, and moves for its adoption.
Councilman Corcoran.
Yes.
Councilman Malinelli.
Yes.
Councilman Koenig.
Yes.
Councilman Baker.
Yes.
Supervisor Lanzetta.
Yes. So Resolution 33 to request a reduction of the speed limit on Route 9W. And Supervisor Lanzetta proposes the following, whereas the town of Marlborough has collaborated with the town of Lloyd, Ulster County Transportation Planning, and New York State Department of Transportation to do a study of the Route 9W corridor, and whereas the Route 9W corridor management plan was issued in October of 2018 and adopted by the Marlborough Town Board, and whereas the recommendation of the plan is to reduce the speed limit on Route 9W between the Milton Hamlet and Marlborough Hamlet from 55 to 45, and whereas the town of Marlborough is concerned about the safety of community residents entering and exiting the proposed community center at Hudson Bluff and Route 9W, we resolve that the Marlborough Town Board requests that the New York State Department of Transportation take steps to reduce the speed limit on Route 9W between Riverview Drive and Hudson Bluff in the hamlet of Marlborough to 45 miles per hour. I guess this is the procedure that you have to follow. The board has to do a resolution, then send it to the DOT, and they come out and do a study.
Now, on the
I already did a study.
isn't the one side of that road going south is 40 already?
When you hit before you hit the hill to go down, it's 40, and then it actually turns into like 30.
Oh, yeah, no, wait.
But on the other side,
That's,
there's
I don't
2
know what the other
lanes
side is.
coming up,
What's the other side right now? That's 55?
going north,
North?
55.
Right after you get past the CVS.
Because I know going south, I saw the 40 would come. I never paid attention coming the other way.
Right past CVS.
It changed from 40 to 55 in the same location, both sides.
Yeah, it's by the Marlowe, pretty much right around.
So you're saying change both sides 45 right now?
No,
From here to down there, they want to do.
No, I know, but this is only just between Hudson Bluff and Riverview Drive.
Riverview on the way north is where you gotta do the south.
So we're just saying Riverview Drive to Hudson Bluff is what we're actually recommending?
Wherever it's 55 to go to 45.
Center is going to be, we're concerned
That's
about
not
the
what that
speed right
says.
there.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding
sides
what
of
this is. Is this for the whole 9W from the Hamlet and Milton to the Hamlet and Marlborough, or are we just specifically requesting
Between
Riverview
Reed Drive and
to Hudson Bluff?
Yes.
That's the one we're specifically asking.
So
And
then
it
coming
wouldn't
down.
change the one side that is
No.
40.
No.
55
It would just
coming
make the
down.
55 to 40.
You go for
So if you're taking a left to go in there, actually.
It's 55.
I don't know if you're going to get people to do that, but
So basically, you're
I'm
just
I'm
doing
not, I'm not
Roosevelt
saying
Hill?
that,
what's that?
You're asking to do Roosevelt's Hill?
It's
all
not
you're
saying
asking?
that, though. It says, whereas recommended,
Yeah.
the plan to reduce the speeds on Route 9W between the Milton Hamlet and Marlborough Hamlet from 55 to 45.
Right, but that was,
If you wanted to do it, you'd have to start a Lions Lane, wouldn't you?
So it's saying from Western Avenue to the light right here. It's a young.
That's the
well,
plan,
that's the plan,
but be it
That's not
resolved.
saying that.
but we're resolving that.
request that.
That's
New
what was
York
always
State Department
recommended, and we're resolving
step
that
to
just to
reduce
do it
speed
from
limit.
there
We're doing it one step at a time.
right now.
The
Yeah.
overall plan is to reduce it all to 40.
I doubt it. I just want them to go out and look at it, and this is the procedure
gonna
that
say-
they follow.
So the recommendation was 44 for 55, 55 to 45 there, and we're saying resolve that we want it from there to
At least
there.
do it at this.
At least at that one point.
First section we want them to look
So
at is that.
it doesn't, if you're worried about the people entering the proposed community center on Hudson Bluff, they're gonna be trying to take a left. If they're driving south, they're gonna be taking a left, sitting on 9W with traffic coming behind them at 55 mile an hour. And you're protecting the people that are just taking a right going north. So really, if you're gonna do it to protect the people entering the proposed community center, you might wanna start that 45 mile an hour zone, going south at Lions Lane. And
Here's the other issue.
continue the 55
What
after
data
Lions
do
Lane.
you
That's what I
have to
was thinking.
support those
too.
speed
It's like
reductions?
you have to go
Excuse me?
start from
What
Lions
data do
Lane.
you have to support those speed
It hasn't
reductions?
been.
Oh, I don't have any data. That's what I'm asking them to do.
We have a Route 9W corridor study.
Right, but it doesn't propose speed limits at the whole location, our data supports it. The study that was already done,
Right.
the whole plan was supported by that data. Now we're cutting a little piece off and asking them to look at data on a very little piece of roadway that probably doesn't exist. It's not gonna show an excessive speed problem there. Coming up the hill, you'll get it, but not going down.
You go into that one
So
lane
they're
of
never
Lions,
gonna consider that.
Lions Lane is where it should be.
Or if they're gonna consider
Yes,
fatal, yeah,
yes.
that's what I just said, the Lions Lane thing.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna look for consideration, you're gonna look at a stretch
Oh,
of
you're
road
gonna
that
get
has
a lot of
prior
tickets.
fatalities on it, so you might as well do the whole stretch, that way the fatalities count
I
for the
would
whole
think the
stretch.
whole stretch is
So-
a good ask, but-
So maybe we should reword this?
Where would you,
Table it, reword it?
Maybe you split it in half.
I
If
do
you
it with our
wanted them to
studies.
consider a smaller chunk, split, do Lions Lane.
Lane, yeah.
To the village.
So
And
that people
then
aren't going
future
45.
consideration, the light.
Well, I can
to-
see Lions Lane, because Lions Lane, that's when it goes from the big lane and
to one.
squashes into the
To the
one lane.
And making a left out of it.
And then you're coming down the hill. That would make sense, right? From Lions
To
Lane
me, it would
going
make sense
south.
from a safety standpoint, if you're gonna have people taking a lot of left.
And then
turns.
when you're coming north, once you pass Lions Lane, that's when it opens up, and of course, then you're gonna go for speed.
55.
so should it read
Until we
then
squeeze
from,
it down to 2 lanes?
Department
Yeah,
of
well,
Transportation
until
take
they
steps
do
to
it.
reduce the speed limit on Route 9W between Lions Lane
And Riverview Drive.
and Riverview Drive?
Yep.
Okay.
Where's Riverview Drive?
Riverview Drive and Lions
CVS.
Lane. That
Okay.
would change Hudson Bluff to Lions Lane.
That's all.
Yeah, that's.
And that would
And then
be
it's naturally reduced after that anyway, right?
north and south?
Of course.
It's 40 after that, right? River Drive.
So, can we make an amendment to that?
This way,
And,
it's going south of it.
I'll make a motion to amend the resolution to read Lions Lane
Go 55.
instead of Hudson Bluff.
okay.
Yeah, because you got the 2 lanes of passing,
There's 2 lanes, so
Right.
that's where it speeds up.
and they're not. gonna
Chief,
wanna
does that
change
make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So, Councilman Koenig made a recommendation to alter the resolution to say on Route 9W between
Lions.
Lions Lane and Hudson Bluff.
No.
No.
Drive.
Lions Lane and
Riverview Drive to Lions Lane,
Traveling south, just the south?
North and south.
north and south,
Yeah, because the one side is already.
north and south.
No sense, you don't want to.
Okay. And moves for its adoption. Oh, make the amendment. You made the amendment,
Yes, I
Al?
did.
I made the amendment.
All right.
Eddie seconded it.
Eddie, second. All in favor of the amendment?
Could you read
Yes.
it, could you read it back?
Yeah. Speed limit on Route 9W between Riverview Drive and Lions Lane, north and south in the hamlet of Marlborough to 45 miles per hour.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And moves for adoption.
Councilman
All right,
Corcoran.
now we got it. Councilman Corcoran says yes.
Councilman Malinelli.
Says yes.
Councilman Koenig.
Says yes.
Councilman Baker.
Yes.
Yes,
Supervisor Lanzetta.
yes, thank you.
Can I just bring up one thing?
Absolutely.
Motion to adjourn?
There you
Yeah.
go, Alan. I was gonna say, we should put under this 15, it should say Alan.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You're welcome.